it sounds like the concern was, on the one hand, you want to get the word out that this outbreak is occurring and that the people who are most at risk should be vaccinated, but at the same time, you didn't want to cause a public panic. So talk about how you felt the media did in actually, I guess, accomplishing the same goal of, making sure that the disease does not spread while also not causing a public panic.
Well, I think we did a good job of getting in the public sector the word out to the general public. Those weren't, that wasn't largely the people we needed to reach. So the media did its job in getting the word out in a general sense, but to get the focus on the homeless people themselves, it was beyond what you would expect the media was going to be able to do. And that's what, we developed these special teams to go out and try to get that word out. But you had to, you start talking about vaccinating people. First of all, people don't have to be vaccinated. You have to get them to have some trust. If you send somebody out there with a police officer, a homeless person doesn't all of a sudden have a lot of sympathy for what you're trying to do. So you had to overcome that. We put public health nurses for the first time. We're setting them out. They had to have security because they had to go to the riverbeds and elsewhere to try to find these people to get them vaccinated. I think there was a complexity there that wasn't fully appreciated by the media. I mean, it became a more simple story. And that's why I said I wish I would have tracked day by day, an hour by hour, what we were going through, what we knew and didn't know, and what we were trying to find out.
And I think our campaign, our campaign took off in August of 2018 because Congressman Duncan Hunter got indicted. I don't know if you guys have heard, but he's indicted. And we all were drinking out of the fire hose. Me, Ken, all of us, all the media, Julie from the AP, we were all drinking out of a fire hose in the last 3 months of this 2-year-long race that I was in. So there's a lot of information coming out, a lot of disinformation, a lot of fake news, right? Coming in from the other side. That happens sometimes in politics, and you don't take it personally. You just kind of try to get the information, the truth out there. And I think that all of us were the victims of too much information too late, and the October surprises that we know in politics happen, and that got in the way of us being able to properly kind of explain all this crazy stuff Hunter was saying. He was calling me a terrorist and all this other stuff, and obviously those kinds of extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that's when the journalists come in and really try to decipher myth from reality. But when there's so much myth going out there, some of the myth trickles out without properly being able to thoroughly investigate all of it. That's what happened.
Oof, I'm sorry, I get emotional because it's just, it was a lot to take in. It's been a year, like exactly a year since everything happened. And it's just, it's surreal to see it continue to happen and to see how the media plays every single story out. Unfortunately, when it came to Perla's story, my connection to them was just, I was just her teacher. I was just the person that she opened up to about what had happened. She showed me the video, and as I explained it, and I will explain it again, she showed me the video, and she said to me, I don't know what to do. And I remember I looked at her and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this just happened? So I walked out, because I had to collect myself. My parents were deported when I was 15 years old. So I know what that feeling is of, oh my gosh, I have nobody. When I posted the video hit 15 million views within 2 hours. And I was just like, whoa. To me,
So Judith, what were the lies that Border Patrol was saying about Perla, and how did you see them reported in the stories that you read and the coverage that you saw?
So the first lie they put out there, I hadn't seen anything because I follow Border Patrol on Twitter and stuff like that. I had not seen it, and I was going to do the first interview, which was with Univision, and I was like, well, I've done interviews with Univision, I've been on their shows before, so they shouldn't go wrong at all. And I remember I'm at Chicano Park, and the cameras start rolling, and he's like, give me 1 second, and I'm like, okay, we'll just, all right, so I guess second take. And he comes, and he's like, all right, we're going to do this now. And he goes, So Judith, can you please tell me a little bit about Perla Morales' affiliation with the drug cartel and human trafficking? And I was like, excuse me? In that moment, I was like, wow, this just went completely in a way that I didn't expect. I was expecting the media to help us prevent a mother from being deported. That's what I was expecting the media to do. You know, and as a Latina, as a woman, as a human, we have rights. And when we see something being done wrong, and you go out there and you take it and you twist it just for ratings and for people to go to your channel and see exactly what's happening, quote unquote, what's really happening, that's really sad. But when you destroy somebody's image on national, international television, there's no taking that back.
How would you recommend that journalists deal with those types of situations where, we've got a deadline coming, we see this information from Border Patrol, from National City Police, from SDPD, from anyone, the authorities, and we're trying to figure out what's true.
So, when I was growing up, my mother used to say, don't say things that aren't true. The one thing that I would say to media is that if you don't have all the facts, don't report it, because you can't take it back. You can't take it back. Earl McNeil was killed, and the world saw, and the media portrayed him as a drug addict who overdosed. But the medical examiner's report stated that he was murdered. Because when you put 2 spit masks over somebody's face, and then you cover their entire face with their shirt, you block the airway. And when somebody can't get air in their mouth or their nose, they suffocate and die. And so it was a death by another. And the media put out that it was a drug overdose. And 5 National City Police officers were involved, and 8 sheriff's deputies were involved. And we met with them. So we just didn't start protesting, and the media didn't get that right either.
And you talk about the Border Patrol having sometimes some numbers that are off. The Border Patrol had to call Hunter out for wrongfully citing them back in 2000, before I was running, where he claimed that ISIS was coming through the border. And he was saying the CBP was telling him this. And the CBP had to say, you're wrong. We never said that. So this is the credibility of the arbiter of this accusation against me. And a lot of reporters took it at face value and then asked me for comment when they could have done 2 things. Consider the source and go back to your own source and say, this isn't true, because our own reporting from 9 years ago tells us that Amar was not involved and also his grandfather was not the mastermind. So it took us a whole 2 years to get to that conclusion that we had arrived at as the press, for 9 years ago. So that was a really frustrating thing that happened. And also I tell people, look, how many of you know, because of the press, about my grandfather's story? Raise your hand if you've heard it before. How many of you know what my top political or policy priority is? Anybody here could raise their hand? What is it?
Apprenticeships?
You are the only person in this room who knows that. And I hope that people are like, what does this mean? And if it's so bad, why is he not in jail? He's innocent until proven guilty. An indictment, people are like, what is that, a speeding ticket? What does that mean? If it's so bad, why is he still congressman? Why is he not in jail? And the counter argument was, well, he's innocent until proven guilty. And I think that's what got him off to win. But the problem is, we never actually talked about the issues. And I was guilty until innocent, and he was innocent until proven guilty. So that dynamic created a problem that I think we'll get our arms around this time, because the issue of my family's in the rearview mirror for most voters. They know now. We have 2 years of runway, and hopefully the press will go back to their original sources of what they cited about who the real masterminds were. But that was a problem, I think. Yeah.
I wouldn't point to any one segment. But there were some TV journalists and that. I think, and TV's different. It really is. I mean, you got to be quick. You got to be. I mean, it's kind of. You talk about the story getting out and you can't catch up with it. I mean, that's what happens. And I think what it's forcing is the print media in today's world, between TV and all of the social media, it's forcing everybody to be quick. And you guys got an impossible job, to be honest with you. You're not going to have all the facts. and you know, you may be in a position where you don't get them right, because you don't have them. And you know, this was a case where I felt like it was unfortunate, because I felt like we as a community lost an asset. And maybe the new guy that we got from LA was going to be, if I met with him a number of times, I like him, I've known him for years. But if you ask me, I've been happy, at least to have Gary for another year or two.
And the issue that our community has is that the media is quick to put out somebody's background to make it acceptable for their death or murder. But we never get to see the police officer's background. And so the issue for me is that we have officers that are not doing the right things. 33 news outlets band together to go after rogue officers, and I think that is huge. I wish San Diego would do that. I wish San Diego media would band with them and go after rogue officers, because many of these rogue officers stay in what is considered a good old boy network and culture, and it is damaging to the good officers that are there. It is damaging to the community as a whole. It is damaging to government as a whole. And so it's damaging when you put somebody's history and they've just been brutalized.
Let me dig into what you mean by stop. So do you feel like, say I've got a story to write and somebody was killed in police custody, we do a background check and see that they have a criminal history. Should that not be part of the story?
I think no. Why? Did it have anything to do with their death? Was it a reason why they were killed? Are you using it in that context? Because if you're not using it in that context, then you shouldn't use it at all. Because what I'm telling you is that it demonizes the victim. And it makes the officers look like heroes of brutality. And then you have some people that are out in the community that will believe that officers do no wrong no matter what video they see. And that's wrong. And if we're going to get it right, we need to get it right, and we need to make sure a victim is a victim and a rogue officer is a rogue officer. And if there are officers that have done their job and somebody died, then we need to talk about that. If it's an officer who just, made a mistake versus an officer who has repeated offenses.
What was the follow-up coverage like months after the actual video went viral?
Well, I think, because I did my job. Just a little background, when I graduated from high school, actually, my major of choice was journalism. So I kind of took some classes and I was like, hold on. And I did some investigation on my own, and I wasn't gonna let this mom go down the drain. I wasn't gonna let this be another, illegal alien criminal, rapist, murderer, whatever, the media puts out there, because whatever our president says, that's what everybody else sees. If they see that mom, that Border Patrol stated that she was the ringleader, because that was another lie, she was the ringleader. She wasn't just affiliated with this, she was the ringleader of human trafficking, okay? So the media took all of that and was like, all right, let's throw some more fuel in there. They put this out there, let's continue it. Now let's figure out what we can say, and maybe the daughter is involved in this, and they threw the daughter in there. Maybe the daughter helps the mom transfer the children over here. She doesn't even drive. Stuff like that, The media took it, and instead of helping the situation, they made the situation worse. To them, the image that they portrayed of this woman, the image that they portrayed of every woman that is illegal in this country for a better life for their children. That's not what they saw. What they saw was a criminal. That's it. That's what the media put out there, and continued to do so for the past 2 months after she was in custody. She was released 2 weeks after they had taken her in, because we fought long and hard. The ACLU got involved. When it came to social media, I thank God for social media in that part. These are powerful tools, and I think the media does not understand how powerful you guys are. Every single word, every single thing that happens within our city, within our state, within our country, affects every single one of us, including you, that sits there and types that story, or sits there in front of that camera and says, oh my God, this is gonna be good. This is gonna bring everyone to watch us because we have the right story, because we have the right statement that Border Patrol made of this woman, and that's what's gonna bring people to watch us, you know? And it was in the perfect time. Why? Because our president was making all these statements about immigrants. So guess what? The media was like, oh my gosh, this, and when I say the media, I mean like the majority of media outlets that were wrongfully writing things were media outlets that supported our president. You know? And it's taken me a lot to say our president because I mean, I don't have any other choice. I really don't. And the media played this over and over, as much as they brought stuff out like Perla, you know, volunteered so many hours, thousands of hours. They have proof to the city of National City. You know, she would go out there and volunteer for, you know, the YMCA and different organizations. Why
Was that
didn't the
story
media-
ever written?
No, it was not. Till this day, that story was never written. You know, she was a woman.
That's your scoop. Here you go.
She was a
Look it up.
woman that volunteered her time for that. But did the media care to even look into the good things that she did? Did the media take the time to see whether this woman had a criminal background or not? That should have been something they should have done. Why? They were left in the middle of the street after they took their mom. That was not spoken about on media at all. You know, and it's like, at the end of the day, are you doing your job to get views, or are you doing your job to help the community? You know, and it's really, really sad because whatever the media puts out there has a lot to do with our social interaction.
Give us a letter.
A letter grade. I guess I would say that there are some parts of the media that are average, so a C. And there are other parts that are above average, right? I think that media outlets, we gave more conversations to KPBS because they were not slanderous. They investigated. There are instances where the media will get it right, but just as you said, that there's no coming back. When Channel 7 News allowed the reports to go out that we were going to riot, when no one ever said we were going to riot, and I was subsequently injured when I was arrested, and they had police come out in riot gear for no reason. They spent thousands of dollars for no reason because there were only people using their voices. There were not people that were there to destroy anything. They were there to disrupt because the government needed to redress the grievance, right? And so let's get back to the table so that we can learn and grow, because right now our media is trying to get wins, but they're damaging the community in doing that. And when you damage the community, the impacts are going to be to the media, because as you said, like when people stop watching and are stop entertained by news that's wrong, the media hurts. The media goes away.
With a single letter grade, how would you grade the media?
Well, I would say, you know, that I've never seen anything that I would say is less than a B, but I would reserve those A's for some real special reporting. I should say there's some TV coverage that I think, yeah, I've got a photo, this is unbelievable in today's world. I did an event and one of the TV stations covered it, and underneath they put Jerry Sanders.
To be fair, you guys look a lot alike.
You see the media, our local media, misinterpret a lot of the stories. And the C, to elaborate a little more, you know, with the whole caravans that were coming from Honduras, I'm half Honduran, and I actually went down there myself because I wanted to see the terrorists and the people that are coming and barging through our fences, you know, to kill us all. And when I went down there, it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, why does the media continue to do this, you know? And it's just like, I want to see that be on TV, but I don't get that. And when I read, I think what happens is that since you write that, there's no taking it back. A video you could take down off of you know, the internet if you take it down before anybody else downloads it. But when you write something, you know, you take your time and you have to put your mind and your thoughts and gather all your facts into that, because there's no taking that back. So when you read a magazine, you know, it's there. When you read the newspaper, it's in your hands. So definitely a B, but for Perla's situation, a C.
I'm a pretty generous grader, so I'll probably give you guys an A for effort, a B in reality, and the most honest answer I could give you guys honestly is incomplete, because my story's not done, and you guys writing on me isn't done either. So I'm willing to give you guys that A if you get your act together this time. Do your homework, read your sources, including your own publications, and get the stories right. And by the love of God, maybe talk about what the candidates stand for. You know, not your personal politics, but your personal health, your personal safety, your personal financial dignity. That's what people want to hear, not the mudslinging, not the back and forth. But for God's sake, maybe spend a little bit of that ink on the issues and not the identity politics going on in our races. So, incomplete for now.
All right, always with the slogans.